Hey guys, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. This is our project for today. Got this cute little gable top, kind of looks like a milk carton. My favorite little darling dinos. And I made this box to hold these claw machines. All right, so you get the directions and stickers. You can put the stickers around the little claw machine, and inside there's a little bag of the tiniest itty bitty little dinosaurs that you can pick up with the claw and then drop into the tray. It's the cutest little game. I got them on Amazon. There's a link below. And then when I got these, I realized, oh my goodness, this paper, this new Stampin' Up! Online exclusive. It's called On The Go Designer Series paper. Look at the colors. So they were meant to go together. All right, so let's get started with our box. What color claw machine do I want? Let's go with the blue one this time. There's a pink one in here. And the box just has a little Velcro tabs. Fits that claw machine just perfect. It goes down and the gable comes up above it, so if you wanted to throw a couple little candies in there or something, you can. Just tucks behind and Velcro's closed. All right, so that's our little treat box today. And our treat, we're gonna start with a piece of 10.5 by 8.5 cardstock, and I've got Azure Afternoon. I thought it was perfect with my brand new On The Go Designer Series paper. Let me get a Simply Scored tool, and we're going to score this up according to the template. Give it a trim. All right, so we're on the 10.5 inch side, and we're gonna score at 1/2, 3, 5.5, and 8. And we're gonna rotate once to the right, and we're gonna score at 2, 4, and 6.5. Now we've got one more thing to score, so let's pull this out of here and work those scores with a bone folder. All right, now it's really important that you have this 1/2 inch along the left side, and then be very careful because you have a 2 inch, a 2.5 inch, a 2 inch, and a 2 inch tall panel. All right, you need a 2 inch and then a 2.5 inch going away from you. So 2, 2.5, 2, 2. Very important, otherwise you'll end up with a very different box. You'll end up with a box that's shorter with a high gable. All right, if you do it upside down, it'll still make a gable top box. But you'll say to me, Marisa, why is my box short and my gable tall? Well, it's because you started with the 2, 2, 2.5, 2 from you away. Do you see? And this on the other side. All right, so when you've got your orientation right, then trim according to the template. You're gonna cut off this rectangle and this rectangle, so make a little glue tab, leaving 2 rectangles. Cut all of this out. This is your flap, and then liberate the panels on the bottom. Okay, let's do that. We're gonna start right here at that bottom rectangle, and we're gonna edge and cut that out. Then we're gonna do another little angle, and then we can cut straight across here. You wanna do your trimmer for this because you're gonna cut 3 panels besides the glue tab. You're only leaving 1 at the end. And then go down the last score line, remove all of that. All right, now we've got that done. Let's turn it to the bottom of the box. We're gonna cut the score line out here, just a little wedge, a little dart to remove the paper that is scored for the folds. I want to get that out of there and get the bulk out. All right, we still have a bit of scoring left to do. Let's get a ruler and that stylus back from our Simply Score tool. All right, so you'll see that we've got some scoring to do here, some diagonal scores. On the first one from the left after the glue tab, skip one, and then the third one. All right, we're going to make those angle scores. What you want to do is mark the center, which is 1 1/4, and I'm going to mark it with my little friction pen here. I love these. They're erasable. I use them in my calendar, and they're great for this too. So we're marking 1 1/4, and then we're going to use the ruler, and we're going to score from that 1 1/4 mark down to the corner here that's made by the first intersecting score lines. So you're making a triangle gusset here for your box. And then opposite corner made by the first 2 score lines from that mark. And you're going to do that in both the first from the glue tab segment and the third from the glue tab segment. All right, now we've got those score lines in. Let's get our bone folder and work those. You're just going to lift and work that score. That's how I like to do it. I just lift the whole template and work that score with the bone folder. It'll give you a nice crisp gable top, that kind of milk carton close. All right, now we're going to erase that mark. See, no more orange, nice and easy. Love these pens. All right, let's get some designer series paper for this box. You're gonna need a couple of squares, a couple of rectangles, and then a nice long strip if you wanna do it like mine. Now these 4 squares are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And then we need for the top of our box 1 3/4 by 2 1/4. All right, the strip is 12 inches by 1 3/4. Let's use our corner rounder and round the corners of both our flap designer series paper and of our flap, and then we're going to adhere those designer series paper to the box. Aren't the little suitcases and umbrellas and passports on the backpacks on the other side so cute? I really do love this designer series paper, and the color palette is just so perfect for this project. The Shy Shamrock is great for the dinosaurs, and the colors are so perfect for these little claw machines. All right, so we've got all 4 of our 2 1/4 inch squares to go down first. Then our corner round tab here. And our last rectangle piece. And we're going to use tear and tape adhesive to assemble our box. All right, so we'll start with the tear and tape down this 1/2 inch strip. Get it close to that score line so that you have a nice tight corner. And we can remove that liner. Fold it and back on itself. There's our box. Now the seam is down the back, so we want to make sure that when we fold in the sides, then we're going to fold from the back to the front. So put a little adhesive there, and then from the front to the back so that our seam runs to the back too. Now with this box, because we only have 8.5 inches across the paper, we're going to have a seam on the bottom. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's remove the liner here on the tear and tape. And that is the bottom of our box. So make sure that adhesive grab. So cute, don't you think? Now we can pop our little claw machine inside. Who is not gonna love that? Even the guys at the office are gonna love that, seriously. And there's our cute little box. I wanna close it with some Velcro. You can do, wrap a ribbon around this if you want to, do some little magnets. I'm gonna take one of these little 3/8 inch Velcro dots and I'm going to cut it in half and put the halves kind of at the rounded corners. Let me show you what I did. Just because it's kind of a wide flap and these angles might want to pop open, I put my Velcro this way. All right, so now you could try one in the center if you like to. I'm sticking with the cut in half and then put the round into the rounded corners. So I'm gonna cut this one in half. Try to be tidy about it. And then I'm gonna find the white side, which is the fuzzy side. And I'm gonna stick the fuzzy side, I think I'll do this way, right in that curve there. Same with the other one on the other side. All right, there's my Velcro. Make sure that's burnished down good. And then remove the liner from the other half, make it sticky. And then we'll close the box. Make sure it's nice and square, burnish that down. And then the first time I separate the Velcro, I like to kind of put my take your pick tool in between so that both sides stay stuck where they're supposed to and the Velcro separates. So there we've got our Velcro right in place. Can close up the box. Now let's deal with this strip of designer series paper. I did my designer series paper so that the seams all went to the back. So what I did was I just started my designer series paper so that it was over the edge of the box just a tiny bit because it's going to kind of shrink back as you go, and then burnish each of the corners as I wrap around the box. And then when you get back to that other end, the seam will go under and then straight down the back of the box. So what I like to do next is, now that I know where the creases are, I didn't have to measure at 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, sorry, to make sure that it could take and wrap around, because you can't wrap 2.5, 2.5, 2.5 around a 2.5 inch box. You need to add that extra 1/16 to get around it so that it's bigger, and I don't want to do that math, so I just burnish it with my fingers, you know, get where the crease should be, and then line up. See, this is going to be a crooked crease because it's not lined up. So I just slide until it's all lined up, and then once it's all lined up nice and straight, then I just burnish again a nice crisp crease with my bone folder. So once you've got all those, then you can take some tear and tape again and put it on the inside of the long end and the outside of the short end. Remove those liners. You're going to be careful now not to stick it to your sleeve or to the box or anywhere yet, because you've got adhesive on both ends. Grab your box. We're going to go from the back where the seam is once again, and we're going to start the short piece and then wrap around to the back of the box. Make sure everything lines up here so you don't see the two layers. And there is your little belly band of some contrasting pattern. I love this bit of fun design with the multicolor pattern. Super cute, right? Okay, now let's do our dino. We're gonna stamp him on some basic white cardstock. Now, Darling Dinos is photopolymer, so I've got my Stampin' Paris matte. I've got some Memento Tuxedo Black and my T-Rex, and I can't even, you guys know I love all things punny, so you are terrific. I can't even. And then inside is a dinosaur claw machine. Oh my goodness. All right, let's, uh-oh, got a Velcro do-jobby there. Got a flower, a dinosaur. Now before we put the Stampin' Pierce mat, let's switch ink. I've got another basic white. This is 7/16, so it's just a little bit skinnier than 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch looked a little bulky, so a little bit skinnier than 1/2 inch. And some brand new strawberry slush ink. I am so glad to have this ink. We got the paper when the last online exclusives released, and I'm like, strawberry slush. I need cardstock and ink to go with my new designer series paper. And it's in pre-order for demonstrators right now. So if you want to get your hands on the new ink colors right now, join my team. Just go marisa.alvarez.stampinup.net and click join. Then you can add the new ink colors to your starter kit. $99 starter kit, free shipping. You just pay tax and you choose $125 worth of brand new products. So if you're interested in getting these things right now, join up. We'd love to have you in the kitchenettes. And if you're not interested in being a demonstrator, that is okay too. You do not have to join up. You can join our ink color club. We have an ink color club coming. There's a form in the description, so you can sign up and get information about our ink color club, okay? Okay, I've got some Stampin' blends here. I've got Shy Shamrock, Pumpkin Pie, Pecan Pie, and just the dark Daffodil Delight. I'm going to start by coloring my dinosaur with light Shy Shamrock. All right, then I'm going to take the dark Shy Shamrock and do his claws. All right, then, while we've got our Shy Shamrock here, let's do these leaves on the little flower. And I'm not doing too much shading on him, just a tiny bit. A little bit at the base of the leaves, and then we're going to do some pumpkin pie on his belly. We'll do a little bit on shading on his belly and spots, but not a lot. Light pumpkin pie it is. All right, hold on to the light pumpkin pie for just a second, because now we're going to do the flower petals. And the paper has pumpkin pie, and it has Shy Shamrock and Strawberry Slush, Azure Afternoon, but it also has crushed curry, and we do not have crushed curry Stampin' blends. So what I like to do when I run across crushed curry in a paper, so color the object that I want to be more of a crushed curry color with dark Daffodil Delight, and then I'll run light pumpkin pie over, and it comes to a pretty close match. Now we're going to do the center of the flower with light pecan pie. And I'm going to set this aside for just a second before we die cut it, because I also have a little embossing I want to do, but we're going to prepare for the embossing before we die cut this. So let's slide aside our images, and we're going to get a tag from the paper and some Azure Afternoon scrap. Now this paper is starting to get well loved, but one of the 12 by 12 sheets is tags on one side and kind of a, I don't know, it looks like the floor plan of a mall. Kind of a city plan, a street plan, something in Shy Shamrock. So we're going to cut out one of those tags, whatever you like. And then after we cut it out, you can either trace it onto with that friction pen, or if you're comfortable, just hold the tag on the scrap and you're going to cut it out. Now these tags are hand drawn. There isn't a die set, and the tags, even though they're similar, they're not exactly the same because they're hand drawn. So I found that this was the best way to get a little matte tag. The tags are also made of designer series paper, which makes them a little bit more lightweight than I'd like it to be, especially since the flap of the box goes behind the tag. So what we're going to do is we're going to mat the tag with a little Azure Afternoon. We're going to run that through the corrugator. So let's get a Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and the mini corrugated embossing folder. All right, the mini corrugated embossing folder was also released in this last online exclusives release. So this is available to customers too. Of course, you can put it in a starter kit if you haven't shopped those last online exclusives. There's some great stuff, not just the on-the-go designer series paper, but there's some really good die sets in this embossing folder. All right, it's a 3D, so we're gonna start with one. We're gonna put our little tag in so that it lines up with the line there at the bottom of the folder so that our corrugate runs nice and level. All right, once you got it nice and level, pop it in and give it a roll. Hopefully I didn't wobble that. Let's see. And there it is. All right, let's move this to the side and get ready for die cutting. Got 1 and 2. Let's pop our dinosaur and our flower up there and cut them out. All right, there's our dinosaur and our flower. So cute. Love it. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is take some Shy Shamrock ribbon and we're gonna break it down to half width. So I just pulled off a length and I tied a rough bow with it. That's kind of how I determined the length. And then cut it in half, hot dog wise, so that we would have a narrow ribbon. So now I've got 2 narrow ribbons from that. And we're going to take our designer series paper tag and we're going to adhere it to our corrugated tag. A little bit offset so you can see the corrugation, and that will make this tag much stronger. So just a little tip and a lot of glue, hold that together, and then we'll grab a hole punch. I've got a 1/8 inch handheld circle punch. I'm just gonna pop a hole where the artist drew. And then we can thread our half ribbon and tie a bow. I'm gonna use my floss threader to make that easier. Pop that through. Don't lose the ribbon out the end of the floss threader. Now because we tied that, or because we cut this, you might have to pull off some shredding. And when I do bows like this, I don't usually tie it in a knot first. I just loop, swoop over the top, tuck, and pull. That way there's not quite as much bulk. And I find that the ears are up, the tails are down. Everything works pretty nicely with that method, and it's a little less bulky. Now again, you might have to pull some stray threads because we cut it in half, and then trim away the threads and cut off the excess. Let's fix the angle on that one. Cute, so cute. I love it. Now we need some dimensionals. And I've got my tailored tag punch here. I'm gonna cut the little chicken lips in the You're Terrific banner. I got a really long scrap here. Let's see if I got close enough. Nope, not quite. Better. We want to end up with a piece that's about 2.5 when we're done. Not too bad. Let's see if we need to take it a little bit shorter. We don't want it to go too far past the edges of the box. Maybe a smidge more on this side to get it better centered. There we go. All right, we got our chicken lips banner and lots of dimensionals now because it's a treat and I love to put lots of dimensionals on the treats. I'm going to use the edge of the mini dimensionals to put my tag on. I like to do that with these kinds of pieces. So I'm going to grab I don't know, about, what would I say that is? About an inch of dimensional. And I'm gonna put it right here below the fold. And then I got the seam, about an inch of dimensional. I'm gonna put it right at the bottom of the tag. And then I'll take a couple of minis and put them just to support the center of the tag. Don't go too high because you don't wanna glue the flap shut. Okay, remove the liner on the tag and then on the box. And then center that right to left. You wanna show just a little bit of that Shy Shamrock underneath. And then catch all that dimensional. Let's put some dimensionals on our flowers and our banner too. Our guy. Got another piece of the edge here, so I'm just going to take a long strip, put it low on the center of my banner. Let's make sure that we got it low, not high, because the flower is going to go, the stem of the flower is going to go under the banner. We can add more if we need to. You're terrific. And I'm not going to push it down quite yet because I want to make sure that if I need to move it up or down, I can do that. Put my dinosaur, his feet can go over the terrific a little bit. Put my flower and the stem can go behind terrific. Pretty good. I think the only thing I want to do there is grab a pair of scissors because this side's a little bit longer. Let's see if I can follow and make that shorter. There we go, not bad. You're terrific. Isn't that great? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. All right, we need a little bit of sparkle and a little bit more strawberry slush. I'm gonna grab my new 2025-2027 in color flat pearls. Again, this is a pre-order item for demonstrators right now, April 2025. But you can add these to a starter kit if you like. I'm gonna grab 2 of these and we're gonna do kind of a triangle placement, the flower and then 2 of these little baubles. I think I'll go with a medium one. There we go. There's your terrific claw machine. Darling Dinos treat box. If you've got any questions about the project, you can email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. Links for the little claw machine are in the description below. And so is a link to join my Kitchenettes team. You get some of these in color things right away. If you've got any questions, reach out. You can shop Stampin' Up or join the Kitchenettes, Marisa Alvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.